Uh, Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to make an announcement that tomorrow that there will be a bake sale in the student union from 12 to 4, and that there will be a marathon dance Friday. Tonight, I would like to introduce you to a man who exemplifies the true meaning of dignity, a man who cares not of himself but only of the cause. I give you the legendary Bobby Seale.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Can you hear me now? Thank you. All right. If you don't mind me, I don't care for podiums, but it's all right. It's just that when you move around, you're a lot more relaxed. You got to say what you got to say and do it. Tonight, I want to rap to you about a lot of things. Thanks for inviting me here to, see, where am I? Rhode Island? I'm sorry, I mean, it's, 13th, 14th college in the month of February, and you get to moving, I forget. Even though I know I've been in Rhode Island all day, for some reason my head got clouded. Anyway, here I am up here chewing on this certs, and this light is bothering me up here. But you got to see, so leave the light on. I want to rap to you tonight about the aborted 60s movement. I want to rap to you about what's getting ready to go down in the 1980s, what should be going down in the 1980s with respect to where humanity is coming from on the face of this earth. I want to rap to you about community-based economics as an ideological concept. I like to call it a higher ideological concept. Maybe some of my old contemporaries in the audience, old socialists, and I remember you and you remember me, and I'm going to make an emphatical statement today that I do not believe doctrinaire forms of socialism. In effect, what I mean by that is state-controlled socialistic concepts will even work in an overdeveloped, wealthy, technological, scientific, social order. I'm going to state that tonight in context. You're going to say, oh, you're denouncing the revolution. Bullshit. I know better. I'm not denouncing any revolution because revolution involves people. And one thing for sure, people got to be practical. If they're not practical, wait a minute. Let me chew this thing up and get it over with, okay? Because it's not good. I think it's the first time I ever came on stage with a certs in my mouth. Of course, I've been drinking beer, The reason I've been drinking beer is because I've been talking all day, and every time I get through rapping in one of these class sessions, or Harambe and another classes, I gotta have a cold beer. I don't have to have it, but that's one of my little jive addictions, all right? Anyway, for those of you who are only 18, 19, 22 years of age in college nowadays, you ask the question, who in the hell is Bobby Seale, right? I understand that. Well, at the expense of sounding a little conceited, I'm the same guy who got chained, shackled, and gagged to a chair in a courtroom in 1969, Judge Julius Hoffman, Chicago, for 3 goddamn days because I demanded my Sixth Amendment constitutional rights. And the Sixth Amendment constitutional rights say I had a right to legal counsel of my choice. I'm the same guy who, May 2nd, 1967, those of you who are a little too young to remember or don't know, or if you have or have not did some research, May 2nd, 1967, I led a delegation of 24 males and 6 women into the California State Legislature, 1967, in a protest of police brutality, of potential future genocide, etc., against black folks in this country. I'm the same guy who was charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder over in New Haven, Connecticut, in a trial that made a historical landmark where the longest voir dire of trying to pick a jury exists in the history and the annals of this country. I'm the same guy who What else did I do? Attica, New York State Prison uprising. I was one of the key negotiators there. I ran for mayor of Oakland. I'm the guy with Huey P. Newton who created, organized, and founded the Black Panther Party in 1966. That's who I am, okay? And I have to say all of that because really I run into some people and they really don't understand. They get Huey P. Newton, Eldridge Cleaver, and Bobby Seale mixed up sometime. Let's clear it up. I am not a born-again Christian. Everybody understand that? All right, now. I have nothing against, per se, the real principles of Christianity because my mother taught me about the real principles of Christianity. I mean, they used to call me a socialist because I said I believe in sharing and sharing alike. That's a Christian principle, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you and all that kind of stuff. Okay. That's to clear up that, to wrap that little piece of quick notes. What happened, though, to get back to some history, and since we're dealing with black history in this month and running around the country, people have to understand something about what the real Black Panther Party was about from its inception. That's a good idea. Prior to it, if you don't understand that, you misunderstand. All we understand is the history of what a bunch of jive politicians like Ronald Reagan and Mayor Daley, rest his racist soul, and Rizzo's and Nixon's and Agnew's said, and what the press reported, and all the distorted stereotyping of what the heck that organization was about historically in this country. Because I'm saying it. I'm tired of trying to be just modest about it. The damn Black Panther Party and all the 10,000 people, and not only the black people, all my white buddies and partners who was in the national committees to combat fascism, all those who was out there organizing with us, all those who took the chances. To this very day, you may not know it, but the vice president of Warner Brothers Pictures the very day almost got killed with me as an old white radical. We were committed. And as a piece of history about what commitment is about that a lot of people don't seem to understand or don't want to understand. They keep running away from it. You know, I even try to get a job sometime when 10 times get low with me and my wife and my kids. You know, the bastards won't even hire me. Scared of the old reputation. Bobby Seale may come up out of the woods tomorrow with 10,000 niggas with guns armed to do something. That's what they think. That's what they think. But that's really not me. Those views are not about that. You know, in the old days when me and Huey was evolving, I mean, we evolved in a funny kind of way. Really, I'm going to say it like this. The Black Panther Party was some sort of a social, evolutionary accident. I had a young girl trying to ask me a question. Why did you say the Black Panther Party was an accident? I said a social, evolutionary accident. Meaning we were involved in a period and an era and time in the 60s era. I mean, there was an atmosphere of things going on. I mean, the 60s movement was like spontaneous mass conscious raising. Numerous events captured the imagination of the people. Me, Huey Newton, Jerry Rubin, Abby Hoffman, Eldridge Cleaver, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, etc., 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 and all the events that occurred, it captured the imagination of the people. Malcolm X would stand up to a racist in the early 60s and the late 50s and tell a racist to his face he was a racist, and black folks wasn't supposed to be doing that. Malcolm X did not only capture the imagination of black folks when he did that, he captured the imagination of the hardcore racists in this country. What is that nigger doing up there talking that stuff like that for? By God, I think we're going to have to do something, Joe. I just don't know. Niggas is getting out of hand out there. From bull corner back. What I'm saying is that events, confrontations, courtroom trials, etc., cause a lot of people to start thinking. And the essence of that thinking was trying to gear people to understand that we had to begin to change the relationship between individuals and peoples. The relationship, the discriminatory relationship that blacks and Puerto Ricans and Chicano people and other people suffered under. The very relationships between the working class and the ruling class. You see what I mean? The relationships. This is what it's all about. We want to change this crap. And that's what that 60s movement enhanced. That's what it was trying to bring home. People down with the 60s, get up with the 80s. But look, brother, let me talk this talk. Don't you try to do my lecture for me, okay? I like your response. Hey, man, don't do that. Don't cuss the man. Just be a little human here. Anyway, let me say this here. There we were. We were moving. One day in 1963, me and Huey Newton, already involved in one organizational framework or another, was looking at the news one day, and what did we see? We saw Martin Luther King and other people, demonstrators, and exercising the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States to right to redress our grievances on television. Thousands of people. Martin Luther King was coming from a non-antagonistic position. We understood that. Basically, we supported it. But in 1963, this is 3 years before the Black Panther Party was ever even conceived of. We didn't even know what we was going to be doing 3 years later. But suddenly the cameras swings to approximately 200 policemen mounted on horses. A horse weighs 2 tons. And this is 200 of them, 200 times 2 tons. With steel helmets and baseball bat-length billy clubs. Some of these horses are charging these peaceful demonstrators, and horse hooves is trampling bodies, and billy clubs is cracking skulls, and blood is all over the screen. See, some of you young people don't even know how the media used to play up all those confrontations. Like that, you play it over and over and over. It was an atmosphere then. You're worried about whether or not the 60s, whether the 80s ain't like the 60s. You don't understand what the media did then. What the media did in every confrontation level, because it was a conflict relationship, as I say, between the political, racist, social structure who decided suddenly, at that particular point, more so than the points before, that they was going to use violence to stop peaceful demonstrators exercising the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States to redress their grievances. Hey, man, that's what was happening with us. That's what was going on. That's what me and Huey saw on the television. Other cases of police brutality, young black kids shot in the back, etc. I mean, what they told people in this country is that we were a bunch of hoodlums. They said me and Huey was a bunch of hoodlums. They stereotyped and distorted what we were coming from. Nobody said anything about the fact that Huey P. Newton was already graduated from Merritt College and was a year and a half in law school. Nobody said anything about the fact that I was working at Kaiser Aerospace and Electronics on the Gemini missile project to deal with the engine frames and the exhaust housing that was popping your rockets up in the sky to deal with those satellites. Nobody said anything about that. Nobody said anything about the fact that I was a journeyman carpenter, that my daddy taught me to be a carpenter from a very young age. Nobody said anything about the fact that I was an architectural design draftsman. Nobody said anything about the fact that I was a stand-up comedian and a jazz drummer. No, they didn't say that. They said we were a bunch of hoodlums. Nobody said anything about the fact that when the Black Panther Party started, that Huey P. Newton and I was employed by the city of Oakland, the government of the city of Oakland, the Department of Human Resources, the North Oakland Neighborhood Poverty Center, a multi-service poverty center. Nobody said anything about the fact that what caused the Black Panther Party to be a social evolutionary accident was that North Oakland Neighborhood Service Center, with its advisory board of basically middle-aged people from 39 to 59, what have you. It wasn't about carrying no guns or anything. They wanted to get on the agenda, the city council, to deal with complaints of police brutality and murder in our black community. And we got on the city council agenda one time to talk about the city council, that legislative body. We got on the agenda and they wouldn't put us on no more to talk about getting that police review board. And there we were. A couple of young dudes had been running around, been in Soul Students Advisory Council, and studied black history for 4 years, taught black history too, because we'd worked on a number of other poverty programs, had discovered black language way back then. We understood why black folks said this, that, them, yo, mo, and for, and not this, that, them, you're more, and for. We understood the difference in it, because we understood that there were no pronunciations and T pronunciations in the West African languages where our ancestral heritage relates to. We had discovered that the word Sambo really only meant the second child born from the Hausa people of northern Nigeria. We had discovered that the word Guba was an African word, the etymology of it. Look up any unabridged dictionary and you'll find that it's an African word that means nuts. We had discovered that tote mean to carry, coming from the Senegalese people from Africa. We had discovered all that. We had checked Africa out. We had checked its mineral resources out. We was all talking that stuff back there in them days. We discovered all of that. We had realized it. We had developed a worldview, which most kids and most people and most youth today don't even have an understanding of a worldview. And that's going to be important to you in your very future now. Give me some more of that wine over there, bruh. Give me some more of that wine over there, bruh. Not give me some more of that wine over there, brother. The lack of the pronunciation and the th pronunciation in the West African languages. Not so much because we supposedly spoke pidgin language, because this racist, discriminatory, oppressive society forced black people not to be able to get formal education. That's all it was. Wasn't that we couldn't speak and enunciate and develop idiomatic expressions correctly of speaking the English language or any other damn language, as far as that go. But we understood that. And there we were, watching a bunch of violent fools, idiotic policemen, political power structure, and behind the scene, smoke-filled rooms of the local and our national corporate money-rich. That's the real culprits of your problems and our problems to this very day, in our very country, in this world. And we said we have to start another political party. And that's exactly what the Black Panther Party was. It was a political party. But they didn't want to connotate us as a political party. From its very inception, Huey and mine's idea is that ultimately we're going to run political offices. We want to take over the city council. We understood what institutionalized racism was. It wasn't a building structure that some of my old hippie buddies used to talk about. Let's blow up the building. I don't like blowing up buildings. I'm a builder. I build buildings. My daddy taught me to be a carpenter. I'm an architect. I like buildings. I like this building here. What I don't like is the racists who manipulate their authority into the political seats of a political institutionalized function that's supposed to be serving the basic desires and needs. That is the essence of institutionalized racism. So that's where Huey and I were coming from. We're going to go out here in the community. We're going to start organizing the people. And we had deducted, man, we'd been through so many different programs. We'd seen all kind of people do all kind of things, talking all kind of talk, coming down in the black community trying to talk to street brothers and street sisters. The basic socioeconomic structure and the adverse conditions that you're subjected to, and considering particular sociological and psychological factors relevant to the historical background and the overall oppression, blah, blah, blah. Hey, man, them brothers and sisters didn't want to hear that. At the same time, we understood what we were talking about. Let's write a 10-point platform and program that makes some sense to the average person, publicize the meaning of it, and to take some direct action involvement. At the same time, we're going to defend ourselves if we're attacked, but we're going to use the same basic tactics. That's all. The same basic tactics as the rest of the movement was using, yet we defend ourselves. That was the difference in it. We wrote a 10-point platform and program out. We want power to determine our own destiny in our own black communities, which means we wanted to control that institutionalized framework that affected our lives, namely the legislative body known as the city council, starting with. We want full employment for our people. We want decent housing fit for shelter of human beings. We want preventative medical health care. We want black people to stop being drafted for the war in Vietnam, etc. Number 7, we want immediate end to police brutality and murder of black people. Number 8, we want fair trials in the jury and the courtrooms, etc., and so on. Number 10, we wanted land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, and peace. And later on, after we wrote that 10-point platform and program, J. Edgar Hoover called that 10-point platform and program, which represented where the Black Panther Party was coming from as a political party, exercising our human rights, our democratic rights to organize our people, and he called us a threat to the internal security of America. And he had read it. He knew what the last paragraph said on that 10-point platform and program. It said, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to separate themselves from the political bonds which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them a decent respect to the opinions of mankind, dictate that they should declare the causes which impel them to that separation. That's all it said. Some black nationalist brother told me, man, a white man wrote that thing. I don't give a damn who wrote it. I'm listening at what it says. When a long train of abuses and usurpations pursues invariably and evinces a design to reduce the people under absolute despotism, it is the right of the people to alter and change that government. That's what it was saying. It is the right of you, every worker, every person, it is the right. So-called democracy. And how do you exercise democracy in the confines of a monopoly, capitalistic, exploiting control framework? Woo! That was the begging question. That was the essence of why we started the Black Panther Party. A political party. We couldn't get that police review board. We had heard about this crew down in Los Angeles, California, following the 1965 Watts riot in Los Angeles, California. Bunch of black citizens that got some law books and some tape recorders to go out and observe the police. Everybody knew the reason for those riots that they kicked off is because of acts of police brutality that the black people got tired of, and spontaneously they went out. Huey and I did not even believe, to this day, we don't believe in spontaneous riots. We even got accused of starting riots and never started one riot in this country. If you want to check the annals of history, you go out and check the San Francisco Chronicle, front page, Bobby Seale, I forget what particular year, but you check it out in some major library framework and you will see why I stopped a spontaneous riot, because I did not believe in spontaneous riots with 50 or 60 or 100 killed, 100, 200 or 300 wounded, 3,000 or 4,000 arrested. All that energy incarcerated, killed, and wounded, and nobody organized. That's simple. So we started that organization. And I'm saying this because I say that this history's got to be corrected. Now, you may hear of a movie on Bobby Seale's life in the next year or so, and hopefully Richard Pryor gonna play me. No, I mean, you write letters. You want Richard Pryor to play me because I want this history out. All them young kids running up down the street, 15, 16 years old. I live in Washington, D.C. Marion Barry's summer youth program. Darryl Sabbs, a very personal friend of mine, is a good brother, wanted to teach these kids something about the 60s. He brought all these pictures in of Medgar Evers and Martin Luther King and me and whoever from the 60s movement, and Rosa Parks and Erica Huggins and whoever, and put them all on the wall and said, today is going to be learning about the leaders of the 60s. The brother kicked off trying to explain Martin Luther King, and some young brother said, hey man, I know who Martin Luther King, but who's this dude Malcolm 10 over here with that Roman numeral X behind his name? Malcolm 10. I mean, young people don't even have a context of what the heck the recent 60s history is about. I mean, I'm running around to this very day talking about an attitude motivation change program, attitude limitations, overcoming attitude limitations, all this kind of stuff. It's a very important program. I've gotten down to the source after 18 years of understanding that it's a certain kind of thing that these young people have got to liberate themselves from in their own context. But more than that, there we are trying to put together an organization. Heard about that crew down there patrolling policemen, but them people down there with their law books and tape recorders in Los Angeles, 400 miles south of Oakland, California. Them people down there, the police finally took their law books and tore it up, took their tape recorder and busted it up, and moved from there and took their heads and broke them up, and dragged them downtown and locked them up. That's what happened to them. Some of you may laugh at that, but that was a very serious situation of people trying to stop riots. That's very, very important. But anyway, we decided that we're going to go out and deal with point number 7 of the 10-point platform and program of the Black Panther Party, which said we wanted an immediate end to police brutality and murder of black people since we couldn't get our police review board. And we was going to get us some law books too. Huey got the California Penal Code, and we got us some tape recorders. And we fooled around and said, let's get some uniforms. So we got us some little black berets, little smooth, clean black berets. Really, we picked the black berets because we'd seen movies about the old French Revolution against Germany and Hitler, you know what I mean? That's why we picked them black berets. And we needed to name this organization, and the way we named the organization the Black Panther Party, because the Lowndes County Freedom Organization down in Mississippi, because me and Huey kept up with everything going on in this country relevant to where black folks was coming from Martin Luther King to Stokely Carmichael back again, and whoever was doing what, and was reading the book, and the symbol of the Lowndes County Freedom Organization was the Black Panther. just the animal, the Black Panther. And we ran and read and discovered and researched the nature of a Black Panther. And we found out that the nature of a Black Panther is that if you drive him into a corner, he'll back up. But if you keep aggressing on him and keep oppressing him, that Black Panther is going to come out of that corner, and his intent is to wipe out his aggressor absolutely, wholly, thoroughly, and completely. Me and you say, that's the name of the organization. That's the young guys, you know, that's the name of the organization. The Black Panther Party. That's where we think, oh my God, really, I tell you, this organization was a social evolutionary accident. I mean, you have to remember, it wasn't no real planned, big plan thing. A lot of people think, man, Bobby Seale and Huey Newton must have had a master plan. No, man, please, give me a break. A young dude growing up. So we decided to patrol the police with shotguns. Remember, Huey went to law school, right? The law simply stated that the law, hey look, if you don't want the camera, forget it. Cause I let him come in here. So what the fuck, who gives a goddamn? All right then. Hold it. If you don't want your picture taken, I understand your problem, brother. Cool, cool. Leave the man alone, cameraman. Take a picture of me. Just take a picture of me. See, man, I don't care. The CIA, wait a minute, let me finish. The CIA, the Army Intelligence, the FBI took pictures, took tape recordings, took everything. If I can get one word over that goddamn media that I don't control, let me finish. That I don't control, then I want that media, the word over that media. And let them take their goddamn pictures. They got my face to fingerprint me, brother, all down here, every wrinkle and everything, all down through here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I spent too much time, so I don't care. So don't worry about that damn silly-ass Channel 10. Forget it. It ain't nothing but something we don't control. That man takes some pictures, shit. Anyway, the damn Black Panther Party was gonna get organized. We start patrolling the damn police. I'm trying to give you some relevant history of what really happened and the real perspective behind this organization, that we were not hoodlums, that we were some black brothers who fooled around and accidented upon an effort to start doing something different. And we start patrolling cops. You won't give us a police review board. We got our own police review board with our little uniforms and our little tape recorders and our little law books and our little shotguns. They got riot shotguns. We had some riot shotguns too. They had 00 buckshot. We got some 00 buckshot too. 357. Man, I'm not trying to tell you to go out in the streets with guns. I'm just telling you some history of why we did it. The real reason why. So we started patrolling them. Blew their minds. Blew the black community's minds. Imagine some brother getting arrested in the community. 6 or 7 dudes and some sister come up, pistol packing, law books, tape recorders. The police look around. What's going on here? What are you doing with that gun? What the hell are you doing with your gun, Huey says. Well, I have my gun to defend myself. You say we have our gun to defend ourselves and observe you carrying out your duty. Oh, well, yeah. Next guy, somebody else, some other day. Are you a Marxist? Huey says, are you a fascist? With his shotgun in his hand. Are you a Marxist? Huey said, are you a fascist? Well, I asked you first. I mean, really, this really happened. Now, what was really happening there? You see what I'm trying to explain here? What was happening was, any other time, a crew of people with law books and tape recorders got their butts whooped because these dudes got the gun. What happened was that when we started carrying the gun, and it was not illegal to carry the gun because the guns were never concealed. As long as the gun was not concealed according to California law, you could carry them, right? And they were loaded. I mean, there's no guns unloaded. There's a fool who go out and carry a gun unloaded. And we knew that clear. The gun became the equalizer for us to exercise the right to begin to organize our community in opposition to the corporate pig power structure as we refer to them. That's what it was about. Patrolling badge 206 one night. I mean, we didn't patrol every night. And don't get me wrong, not every damn policeman in the community was brutalizing the people, although they were twos of the fascist structure and all that stuff. You had a lot of police. We went in situations where some kid may riding his bike over to my house. Brother Bobby, Brother Huey, the police down there at the Cooper Car hamburger stand, they're arresting somebody, so y'all got to come down here and see y'all in a minute, because people got used to us. We were the local community alert patrol. You dig? We hopped down there, the cop, I remember this very clear. And we'd hit this guy 3 or 4 times when he was making an arrest. We never stopped the arrest. Wasn't the point. And we got out and come down, got out of our car. He said, "Hey, Newton, I see you still got that shotgun there." And he would say, "Yeah, I see you still got your 38. With some cops like that, a lot of them. They got so used to us. Look, this guy's name is so-and-so. If you guys want to bail him out, boom, boom, here's his name, bang. See you later, bye. Drive off. One night, badge 206, though. When we patrol police, we never was right behind their car. You patrol them 3 or 4, 5 blocks away. All you're looking for is an arrest going on to stop and observe. To stop and observe the officer carrying out his duty. See, Huey knew the law. When cops start talking about, "What do you mean, observe?" Huey started quoting some Supreme Court ruling of California State, boom, 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 running the code numbers off, and every citizen has a right to observe a police officer carrying out his duty as long as they stand a reasonable distance away, and a reasonable distance has been constituted as 8 to 10 feet. With a shotgun and a tape recorder and a book, 8 to 10 feet, that was righteously observing. But badge 206, we were trying to go home. I said, "Hugh, we've been out here too long. It's 9:30, man. I got to get to the house. I had to see Mama about something." You know, we always had other family problems and other things. So we patrolled 2 or 3 hours. We come out, bang. We fool around and turn the corner. Badge 206 is sitting over here on the side of the curb under a stop sign at the corner. We stop. We always stop. We knew the law. You have to stop at a stop sign. See, we'd have been hoodlums. Don't you get it? Stopping. "Hey, motherfucker, what you doing over there? Jive-ass pig. Hey, man, let's shoot the motherfucker." Boom, 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 boom. That was not what our organization was about. We stopped. Turned the corner. Cop turned his lights on. Because, you know, when I'm riding with the shotgun. I hold Huey's shotgun when he's driving. You know, just straight up, you know, like the police have these shotguns up there to intimidate you in the community. They got shotguns. "Well, I've got shotguns. Don't do anything. Police will get out of his car." Hell, shit, when we rode out in the community, we had our shotguns. We didn't have those fancy latches, but we held them, you know what I mean? Straight up so they could see them. Unconcealed weapons. So, boom, we stopped. He looked over, I remember, we turned. He flashed his headlights on, flashed his high beams on, suddenly flashed his red light on, boom. He's following us. We took a joggle in the road, went this here way, bang. Huey won't stop. Huey will not stop for a red light. It's a legal matter with Huey. Huey's point of view, I could be colorblind. I want to hear the siren. Wow, goes the siren. Boom, Huey stops. We're right behind Merritt College, where we went to college. Across the street is the black community who lives all up along there. But the cop, he don't come right up behind us and stop his car. He just stops. Gets out of his car, hustles up his utility belt around his rump. I guess he thought he was Batman, just fat a little bit, you know what I mean? "Get the hell out of that car with them damn guns. Who do you niggas think you are?" He just standing there, ordering. Boom. I got this 45 on me. Little Bobby Hutton is sitting in the back with a M1. Bang. "Did you hear me?" He's about 3 car lengths behind us when he stops. I say, "Huey," I say, "I think this cop's trying to get killed." I pull my 45 out, still holding Huey's shotgun, And Huey rails the window down about 3 inches. Huey never. This boy was so meticulous about the law. He don't roll the window all the way down. He said 3 inches down is enough to talk through and enough to put my license through. That's all I need. The boy Huey was something else. I really have to say it. The boy, you have to give the boy credit. Anyway, the cop started walking to the car. "Didn't you hear me? Get the hell out of that car, you niggas think you are with them damn guns," walking up on us, boom, boom, boom. And I said, "Damn, Huey, man." Huey just had his license out there. By the time he approached the door of the car, the cop slapped the license out of Huey's hand. It all happened in a matter of split seconds. Snatched the door open. "Get out of that car." Huey was getting ready to reach for his gun, and he turned to me. When he turned to me, the cop then ducked his head in the car, reaching over Huey over the driver's seat, and was grabbing on the top of the barrel of the shotgun. I'm pulling back. Huey scoots around, gets up, and knees the cop some kind of way, scoots back, boom, comes up, and gets a foot and kicks the cop out of the car. The cop is stumbling all the way back, but before the cop could finish stumbling back, going out of the car, Huey then snatched his shotgun up, come out, clap, drops around off into the chamber. See, there's a particular law that we knew about the Fish and Game Code. You cannot have a live round in the chamber of a rifle or a shotgun while in a car in city limits. You understand? You can have the rounds in the magazine. Huey comes out of the car, drops around the chamber before the cop can finish stumbling back, boom. Then he holds the weapon to the left. Never hold the weapon direct. Why? Law again. If you are just playing around with a loaded weapon in the chamber and just pointing the gun at somebody, you could get 1 to 10 years for assault with a deadly weapon just playing around. Law. So he holds the gun to the left. Boom, the cop finishes, braces himself. He's standing there going like this here and getting ready to go, and Huey had him. He's not, go for it, you big, fat-bellied, racist, redneck pig. Bring your ass out of Tallahassee. Cut, shoot, when, come from, 10 miles north of Mule Creek Junction. Think you can come up here, violate my constitutional rights, trying to remove my property from me without due process of law. The cop went like, he says, go for it, so I can blow your fat gut right out, right here, right now. The police, he's looking over here. I'm out the car with the 45 here. Little Bobby's over here with the M1. He's looking around. What's done happened? The black folks is coming out of their houses because they hear all this commotion. He sees the black folks. The niggas got guns. See, he's taking black folks in the black community. The niggas got guns. They got guns. He backs up to his car. Calls the damn radio, all that shit. A lot of cops come down right at the same time. Merritt College was letting out. 400 or 500 people was back there, etc. We telling the cop, no, you can't see my gun because you cannot remove my private property from me without due process of law, and you have to place me under arrest, and you only stop me supposedly for a traffic ticket. Now do something with that. And the brothers and the sisters, go ahead and tell them damn police tired of messing with us. Niggas that got brave now. Black folks that got brave now, boy. It's something else. See what I mean? That's the kind of thing that evolved. Now, that's the way it evolved, brothers. I'm not trying to make it funny. It's very serious, but it is funny. It's good humorous relief to understand it, though. On the other end, we went through that stuff. A lot of things happened. The 1960s was about spontaneous mass conscious raising. This is an overview, but it's generalized, but more than that, you see, in the early 1970s, suddenly they stopped attacking all aspects of the movement. All aspects of it. They stopped attacking the civil rights aspect of it. They stopped attacking the political revolutionaries, such as me and Huey. They stopped attacking the nationalists and the religious nationalists, such as the Nation of Islam and the other nationalist organizations. They stopped attacking the anti-war aspect of the movement, etc. Early in the early 1970s. I mean, they've been attacking all aspects of that struggle that was going on throughout that whole decade of the 60s and into the early 70s. And they must have realized, because when you start talking about that 60s movement capturing the imagination of people, making people think about discrimination, making people think about exploitation, making workers realize on one level or another on small scales, hey, something's got to change, etc. I mean, when you got a hard hat, racist dude on TV being interviewed about the fact that I'm in a courtroom bawling a judge out about the right to have my lawyer in the courtroom, and this racist says, well, I don't like that Bobby Seale, but the guy still got a right to have his damn lawyer in the courtroom. Who in the hell Judge Hoffman think he is? You are beginning to capture, making people think, and that's what that movement did. And they must have thought that if they continued attacking through the whole 70s, all aspects of that struggle and that movement, boom, ultimately by the 1980s, that movement would have the masses of this people in this country doing some profound thinking as to where we're supposed to be at, on what level we're supposed to gear this whole struggle to. So what we had is a sudden quick stop attack, no more sensationalization for the press, and boom, the struggle and the movement of the 60s went to a low tide. It hit a low tide on many levels. It hit such a low tide in the black community, that's why we got young 15-year-old kids running around wanting to know who is Malcolm 10, the dude with the Roman numeral X behind his name. That's terrible. And it's a profound dedication. I mean, the real human commitment. I mean, can't we identify with that? I mean, I still think we are caught in this country and don't even realize where we really are, where we should be in terms of new values, higher level human values. We don't understand it yet. Too many of us still relate to American nationalism, first-class citizenship in the United States of America. First-class citizenship is the basis of racism, back to the colloquial usage of being free, white, and 21. It ain't nothing but racism. In a world that's too interconnected and too interrelated on too many damn different levels. We are not living in 1919 or 1917 in the Russian Revolution, or 1917 in the United States of America, or 1914 in World War I. We are not living then. We're living now. This is a fast pace. The most wealthiest, technological, scientific, social order in the world is fast too. Not only is capitalism, exploitation, and racism the reason why so many blacks and whites and Puerto Ricans and Chicanos are unemployed in this country, and middle class slipping back into the ranks of the 60 million plus poor and low income living at subsistence and below, we don't realize that we have to evolve a value more than first-class citizenship in the United States of America. We have to start seeing ourselves as earth citizens and evolve the value of first-class humanism on the face of this earth. That's where we're supposed to be at. A lot of people like to try to repress any notions of the potential nuclear holocaust in the world. Stop repressing it, brothers and sisters, people. Start understanding the human value of surviving on the face of this earth. I mean, in the old days, they used to say when I ran for mayor of Oakland, I was, man, that dude working in the system now. The hell he talking about working in the goddamn system? Now somebody else, my little partner, man, I ain't got nothing to do with the system, and the system ain't got nothing to do with me. Man, I don't want to work on no campaign, Brother Bobby. The Black Panther Party was ultimately about running for city councilman and controlling that political institutionalized framework, the legislative body, right? I am saying right now to this very day, the most important political institutionalized function in this country is legislative bodies, more so than the executive offices of the president, the mayors, and the damn governors. It is the legislative bodies who give the loopholes. It's the legislative body who are controlled by the corporate money-rich power structure in the smoke-filled rooms, run this damn country. It is the legislative bodies who could, if we control and change the face of them, could be much more creative in dealing with solving our problems. No, we forget. Most people who go vote go out and vote for a Messiah leader, the big-time leader, white, black, blue, red, green, yellow, and polka dot. That's what you do. That's what we do. And we got to understand to value legislative bodies, council frameworks where people sit down. We value non-antagonistic contradictions. Antagonistic contradictions. Wait a minute. Contradictions will always exist in society. It's just that there are two kinds of contradictions. Non-antagonistic contradictions and antagonistic contradictions on the extreme level where there's bloodshed. We prefer non-bloodshed, so we want non-antagonistic contradictions where we can begin to sit down at the table and start dealing with and have council representative frameworks to deal with the problems and solve the problems of what we want. Which means we have to go through a whole new human value system of revolving something that makes some damn sense to us as humanity on the face of this earth. When I say everything is interconnected and interrelated in one way, shape, fashion, form, or another, which dictates the need to evolve a new value of earth citizenship and first-class humanism on the face of this earth, we have to understand how we're interconnected. We have to understand the total system. Not just the capitalistic system, which is only a major aspect of the total system. Not just racism intertwined with capitalistic exploitation, but which is a major aspect of the total system. This is what we want to change. This is what I struggle against. This is what you should be struggling against. It's no dropping out of the system. My old hippie buddy, no, Bobby, man, I dropped out, baby. I dropped out of the system, man. I mean, you know, I dropped out, Bobby. I mean, be gone, you know. He dropped out of the system. I said, man, ain't no such thing as dropping out of the system. Try to explain to him, look, man, all the problems on the face of this earth, whether it's the Middle East, whether it's apartheid in South Africa, whether it's idiot Ronald Reagan doing this or that or whatever, everything that's going on the face of this earth, we live on it. We are interconnected. We can take a SST, a supersonic transport, on a Friday evening and travel all the way to China, visit it for the whole weekend, and be back for work Monday morning or school Monday morning at 8 a.m. We are interconnected and interrelated. Telesatellites can get Muhammad Ali or any other event and pop it in front of your living room, live from halfway around the world. Come on. A brother or a sister in the Congo with a transistor radio glued to their ear, zeroed in on a British station, being exploited, being brainwashed, what have you, etc. The world is too interconnected. We are not back there in them days. And the total system is the universe. We're totally interconnected with all our problems, etc. Our little Earth takes a 600 million mile trip around the sun every 365 days, moving at approximately 20 miles a second, orbiting the sun at a distance of approximately 90 million miles, spinning on an axis of 1,000 miles an hour. And our sun, with its Earth and the 9 planets, is moving in the galaxy at approximately 12 miles a second. The interdependency, the interrelationship, and the interconnectedness of it. Now you let us get outside of that major orbit we supposed to be in at approximately 90 million miles away from the sun, and all our little problems on the face of the earth won't be worth doodly squat. So it's about the total system. We're supposed to be struggling against all forms and facets of racism, etc. It's about humanity surviving on the face of this earth. White, black, red, green, blue, yellow, and polka dot. Or any other color we come up with. I mean, from environmental problems to whatever. Some fool gonna tell me, no man, I've dropped out of the system. He didn't understand our need from the black community, or whether he was in the Puerto Rican community, or whether he was in the poor white community or whatever, to control the central political institutionalized function known as the legislative body. The people must control it to make them serve the basic desires and needs. That's what we were trying to do. He dropped out. I say, you can't drop out of the system. If you think you can drop out of the system, I say, you take your rump down there to Cape Kennedy, and since it's so fashionable around here in those days to hijack airplanes, you go down there and I want you to hijack your rocket, you and all your boys who think you're going to drop out of the system, take off and go to the moon, and I'm willing to bet you that some jive president, whether it's Nixon or Ronald Reagan in the future, going to send some troops up there and bring you back. There ain't no dropping out of no system. So it's about what we struggle against. That's really honest the way I feel about it. I honestly feel that way. On women's liberation, essential problem. Whether it's women's liberation and male liberation. Don't clap too quick, brothers. I got a criticism, especially of my black sisters. Not a criticism in the sense that it was their fault. A criticism to help them realize something, both of them. One, most black women have been taught to put 100% energy into their relationship with their black male and forget about the fact that they should be using at least 50% of their energy to accentuate self in a fast-paced technological social order. In a fast-paced technological social order, we are not living with rub boards and scrub boards and washing clothes where role levels of work is assigned to women and other role levels is assigned to another level. We're not living in that time and that period. We're living in another period. On the males, first you must understand and respect the fact that every black woman, oppressed person, or woman must use 50% of their energy to accentuate self in a fast-paced, scientific, technological, social order such as this. And on the other hand, the problem with the brothers and the male chauvinism in this society, you either got your damn penis in front of your ego or your ego in front of your penis, and one ain't no better than the other. One ain't no better than the other. Say, well, what do you mean? That means we don't make love anymore? No, brother. It means I go to a higher level of values. I make love a whole lot more since I recognize that. I make good human love, you dig? It's not about ego, it's about pleasantness, it's about affection and a whole lot of other things. It's about respect, care, respect, responsibility, and knowledge. Eric Fromm. That's what it's about. So, black brothers and sisters, I speak to you in this audience today to understand what liberation is about. It's about economic liberation. It's really about human economic liberation. That's the rock bottom line. There's a personalized kind of liberation that's necessary too. There's one program that I support and push in this country. I just ran into it about a year and a few months ago. Blew my mind. Overcoming attitude limitations. It really blew my mind, because you don't walk up to me after 18 years in this struggle through the poverty programs, teaching black history, work with 4 or 5 of them, through the Black Panther Party, RAM, Revolutionary Action Movement, Afro-American Association, Soul Students Advisory Council, all of them. Talking about no attitude change program to me. But it blew my mind when I went to St. Louis, where they ran 1,200 people through this program, and I'm up there sitting there watching these young black brothers who have dropped out of school, ready to push dope, all kind of conflict relationships at home, totally changing their minds. It's just a methodology program that, from everything I could gather and ascertain from evaluation reports, etc., 90% effective. Overcoming attitude limitations. And the real reason I focus in on that, because I began to recognize and really see the phenomena of what's getting ready to happen with respect to what Ronald Reagan is subject to do in this country. Because Ronald Reagan has got a fantasy for the presidency. He does not really know and understand and does not realize that in the final analysis, it is the individual human being. Don't tell no human being to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps, and yet you standing in the bootstraps. You understand? And gravity has got you hanging to the floor. You dig what I'm talking about? See, what you have to do is take the damn boots off. You see what I'm getting at? And you have to put the person in a situation where they can contemplate what their situation is. You understand? And if they can understand and contemplate that, they can start making their mind up and start developing goal objectives of what they're supposed to be about as human beings living in the framework. But these kids here, I just left Florida, Miami, murder crime has doubled in 1 year. Murder rate. Central economic base of Miami, Florida, ain't the tourist trade no more. It is dope. I'm talking about young kids, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, taking pistols, been dealing dope or getting dope from some group, find out who they getting the dope from, going in there and shooting up all 5 of them, putting them in the trunk of a car and going back to the dope dealer. See, we done killed them, now let us deal your dope for you. Hey, we got a phenomena coming. And these are the same black brothers and little young sisters who want to know, who is this dude Malcolm 10 with the Roman numeral X behind his name? See what I'm talking about? This is the problem. Harambe. I got a great reception from Harambe today. These are some good brothers and sisters in this organization here. Advocates Sing is my organizational framework. I refuse to ever run a mass active involvement membership organization again. What I do is I go around the country beyond these lecture engagements and college engagements. I work with and try to deal with a lot of organizations in their own indigenous community areas to help them develop their own active involvement membership. I'm trying to take this 18 years of experience and give it to them the best way I know how. For them to develop political electoral power, etc. For them to understand what community-based economics and community control of economic frameworks is really about. That is what I think I'm best at in terms of contributing continuously to this struggle. That's what I do. Now, Advocates Sing is a national community organizing lobby network. I'm not talking about lobbying in the traditional sense. The emphasis is on community organizing. We do a lot of community organizing training into the fine particulars and methodology of effective community organizing present today. If you want to know about how to get a hold of some effective community organizing training, just see this fast-paced technological social order, Bridge Incorporated. Bridge, like a bridge to go across the river. Remember, Bridge Incorporated. Dial 1, area code 202. National information for long distance is 555-1212. And say, give me Bridge Incorporated. Somebody up there with a little computer frame with Bridge Incorporated, boom, the number's gonna pop up and they're gonna give you the number. Call Bridge Incorporated to tell them to send you some information about community organizing training in this country. Bridge Incorporated. Call information. I work with this organizational framework. I work with a number of others too. National Welfare Rights Organization, et cetera, Baltimore Welfare Rights Organization, et cetera, community organizing training, and helping them develop active involvement membership in their own frameworks. Boom, that's one level. But when you start talking about political electoral power, what is the value, you say, of political electoral power? I know what you feel. Man, the political system is controlled by the corporate power structure. Correct, it sure is. When you hear me use the word lobby, man, what's Bobby talking about? Man, he's really deep off into some jive, man. Anytime the clique, the money-rich corporate power structure, makes it a point to control your legislative bodies, it means that they want the power, right? The control, right? Yes. The legislative bodies is the one who manipulate your tax monies and do away with what's happening. We have no control over it. People have no control. People are not organized. People do not understand how to structure coalitions in communities. People don't understand how to build political electoral power. And this is my forte. This is where I came from. And I'm still hanging on to what I believe is necessary in any kind of revolutionary struggle, because I stand still as a political revolutionary. Oh, you want to know what the word revolution means? Revolution means re-evolving the power back into the hands of the people. And if the corporate money-rich power structure don't like you trying to do that, exercising your democratic right to do so, they are going to attack you, and you have every right to defend that democratic human right to organize the people to control the legislative bodies that's supposed to be for you, so-called trite as it is, government of the people, by the people, and for the people. You see what I'm getting at? But for what objective purposes? We got to start thinking about evolving a new economic practice in this country. Exploitive, capitalistic economic practice intertwined with racism as it is will not work. It is getting ready to run this country into the total ground. It's already been running the ground so far, but it's getting ready to put the natural nitty-gritty hurt to you, to me, to us, to millions of people who don't realize our interconnected relationship with the total world and all of other humanity, who don't realize from environmental problems and the destruction of the environment to the potential of problems of nuclear holocaust, down to the domestic problems we have to deal with on an everyday level. We are going to have to change. And how do we do that? We start talking about liberation and economic liberation. We're talking about human economic liberation. And you start talking about evolving a new economic practice. What are we really talking about? Let's understand the American economy. Over here, Eli Ginsberg, we have the not-for-profit sector of the American economy. Over here, we have the profit-seeking sector of the American economy. The not-for-profit sector over here is constituted by what? Government, local, federal, et cetera, all the way down. One aspect of it. Another aspect, college institutions. 80% of all the college institutions in this country function as part of the not-for-profit sector of the American economy. Church dynasties, Catholic, Jewish, et cetera, Unitarian, and so on, all them, they function as part of the not-for-profit sector of the American economy. Non-profit foundations and other non-profit groups all make up the not-for-profit sector of the American economy. What I'm saying is this here. Since World War II, according to Eli Ginsberg's analysis, and I think it's a profound analysis, the not-for-profit sector has grown to a point that it directly and indirectly represents 1/3 of all the jobs in this country presently. You take all the billions of dollars, billions, B-I-L-L-I-O-N-S, that all these different aspects which make up the not-for-profit sector, and convert those billions of dollars into how many jobs they represent, you will find that the not-for-profit sector is responsible presently for 1/3 of the existing jobs in this country, directly and indirectly. The growth of the not-for-profit sector of the American economy, and with that growth we find that the profit-seeking sector has depended on its very survival based on the growth of that not-for-profit sector. Dependency by the profit-seeking sector. We're looking for the weakness in the capitalistic profit-seeking sector, right? Anytime government, part of the not-for-profit sector, 10, 12, 15 years ago, sets up an interstate highway system in this country that costs billions of dollars, and some private contractor from the not-for-profit sector runs over and get a contract from the government and not-for-profit sector, that must be dependency on the profit-seeking sector, on the growth of the not-for-profit sector, which is our tax dollars who come to the government. Whether it's federal subsidies for the SST, whether it's Chrysler, whether it's building war munitions, etc. See, and you have different kinds of growth of the not-for-profit sector. You have negative growth and you have positive growths of the not-for-profit sector of the American economy, especially where government is concerned. One of the greatest negative growths that the profit-seeking sector depends on is the welfare state system. I say negative growth because the welfare state system does not have human resources, economic factors built into it. I say negative growth because in Philadelphia, 3 years ago, Pennsylvania, the state could not pass its fiscal budget. Therefore, all welfare recipients could not receive a welfare check for 8 months. Excuse me, not 8 months, 8 weeks. Come to find out, it wasn't the welfare recipients who were so upset by not having received their welfare checks. It was the supermarkets and the other profit-seeking sector in that community who depend on a very marginal profit based on welfare check spending. Dependency by the profit-seeking sector on the negative growth aspects of the not-for-profit sector of the American economy. The American economy is a pluralistic economy. Now, how do we make the not-for-profit sector have a positive growth as opposed to the negative growth? When you start talking about evolving a new economic practice. Examples. Outside of Youngstown, Ohio, some private profit capitalist who owned a steel mill decided he's going to pull up roots, right? Later, for the 8,000 people directly and indirectly dependent on jobs on that steel mill. People got mortgages, got to pay for their little campers and everything else. Gonna leave them there. Was no community control of the economic framework. Right? No, it wasn't. But when they left, the people looked back and says, wait a minute, all these years, these pension funds is built up. Let's take our pension funds and buy this damn factory. Let's set up a non-profit board entity of skilled professional people to maintain and keep producing the steel. How we have community control of the economic framework. And some of my contemporaries says, man, we don't know what you're talking about this community control, man. You see, community ain't whatever. We have to deal with the workers controlling the means of production. And I've been arguing with them since the inception of the Black Panther Party that is not a definition of just the workers controlling the means of production. It is the people in the community, because every worker who works anywhere, if you're going to define this ideology properly, every worker lives in a community. Every worker lives in a community. That's why I say I do not believe in state-controlled socialism. I believe in community control of economic frameworks that produce and retail services and goods. That's what I believe in. And I think this is a much more progressive, profound level that we're supposed to be going towards in the future. Now, that's all I can say in a synopsized way. I could sit and rap with you for 5-10 hours about it. But let me tell you about community organizing and organizing political electoral power, and as that may relate to people also understanding how they must evolve a new economic practice. When I ran for mayor of Oakland, I was the only candidate, really, that talked about a community-controlled $60-odd million economic framework, namely the International Cultural and Trade Center. Oakland, California, why? Because we understood the central economic base of the central city of Oakland. Its shipping port, the second largest containerized shipping port in the world, not America, the world, in Oakland, California, not across the bay in San Francisco where I was running. That economic framework would have left somewhere in the area of community control of 3,500 to 4,000 permanent jobs. that kind of economic practice. But when I ran for mayor of Oakland, which is the first step in organizing the political power to get to that idea, you see where I'm coming from? Bobby will run for mayor of Oakland, said the Central Committee. Said that 3/4 of the sisters on the Central Committee, and by the way, because you sisters and black folks don't know it, black women was 3/4 of the Black Panther Party and the decision-making body of this national headquarters. But they said I was going to run for mayor of Oakland. And they said Sister Elaine Brown was going to run for city council. And 2 years later, if we take this, then we're going to take over the next 4 seats, and we're going to have the majority control of the legislative body, which was our original premise from the Black Panther Party. But how are we going to get them black folks out to vote? That was our problem. Black folks that don't vote, drink wine, act a fool, indifferent on welfare, etc., most of them. They done distorted our image in the newspaper, all this kind of mess. Boy, we was thinking, we was scratching our head. Boom, 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 boom. Early 1972, January. I had been out of jail over a year now, 9 months then. Came up with an idea. Said, tell y'all what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. You see, we never had no problem with money to run a campaign. You see, I used to raise $700, $800, $900 million a year. You see, when I go to a college engagement, they used to pay me $3,500 to come speak somewhere, plus airfare, travel, and accommodations, hotel, etc., rented cars for 2 people. See, and you do 75 or 80 of them, you know what I mean? You bring it in right there, $300,000 or $400,000 a year, plus all the money that Vanessa Redgraves and the Gene Sebergs used to give us, and the Jane Fondas and the Marlon Brandos, etc., etc., etc. You know, we used to do that. We didn't have no money, problem with no money to run no campaign. What we had a problem with is how to get black folks organized and registered to vote, because we're going after real political electoral community power. We going after that city council. We going after that whole legislative body. And the mayor's position was really part-time, so in effect, he was really a voter on the city council. It's the legislative body we wanted. We remember what we said in the 10-point platform and program of the old Black Panther Party. We wanted power to determine our own destiny in our own black community. That's what we said, right? Darn right, that's what we said. That's why we went to jail. That's why over 2,000 Black Panther Party members had been arrested, and out of all those 2,000 arrests and numerous charges, y'all never read it in the paper. Did you know that 95% of all the charges was dropped? All they told you about in the newspaper was the arrests. And of the 5% that wasn't dropped, we got acquitted or whatever in the courtroom. But we was going after that power. So I said, this is what we do, brothers and sisters. To get these black brothers and sisters and the Chicano brothers and sisters and others and the Hawaiians and the Filipinos in our community in Oakland register to vote, we're going to give away 10,000 full bags of groceries with a fat, healthy 3-pound chicken in every bag. The Central Committee looked at me. Brother Bobby, you sure you know what you're talking about? You ain't cracking up, is you? I said, no, I ain't cracking up. You show the pressure, ain't you? I says, y'all want to get these people registered to vote? We got the money. 10,000 full bags of groceries. We're going to give them away with a fat, healthy chicken in every bag. And I don't mean them 800 cubic inch bags. I'm talking about the 1,400 cubic inch bags, them large bags, the ones you buy right you today in the store, the large bags. Foster Farms chicken. Designed that program and jumped up there and called a press conference down at St. Augustine's Church, down in the basement down. Had about 5 or 6 cameras down there and the radio people in the newspaper. I says, all right, is everybody ready? I took the 2 chickens and held them in both hands and held them out in front of my face. I made sure that I turned the little cellophane bag to show Foster Farms chicken. You know what I mean? I says, all right, are we ready out here for this press conference? And get me an example of all the stuff we're going to have in the bag, the potatoes, the eggs, the canned goods, etc. I says, black brothers and sisters, and I held the chickens right in my face. This is it. At the Black Community Survival Conference, there we will have a voter registration drive. We will give away 10,000 full bags of groceries with a fat 3 to 3.5 pound chicken in every bag. Boy, when I saw that stuff on the news, I was talking about the Sisters Love and the Tower of Power and John Lee Hooker gonna be there and Brother Ronald V. Dillums and Reverend Earl Neal, and these are the progressive brothers and people in the community, and Angela Davis and whoever. We gonna all be there. We're gonna have a time, but y'all come down there and get these free bags of groceries. All you gotta do is register to vote. Next word we heard is the local FBI head out there in the San Francisco, Oakland area, and the mayor and the chief of police had a meeting. You know, we always had some brothers and sisters and people always communicate information to us through the grapevine, you know, model cities, people, and that kind of stuff. Partners of ours. Dudes me and Huey went to college with, that kind of stuff. Sisters who knew what was happening. Hey, man, the mayor said they was laughing at y'all, man. So you them niggas out there talking about 10,000 bags of groceries. John, have you ever seen 10,000 chickens in 10 supermarkets in a week's time? They were on us. They'll never do it. The goddamn Panthers really stuck their foot in their mouth this time. Boy, that just made me madder. When I got them coordinators telling I said, I want your slide rules and your calculators over here. We have to organize and we're going to get these groceries. I want some reports on what you've been doing. Well, Brother Bobby, man, it's hard to find potatoes, man, in a big whop like that. Next thing you know, I had that man all the way up in northern Oregon, next door to Idaho, up there bargaining for potatoes at 3.5 cents a pound in those days, delivered on a tractor trailer. 50,000 pounds of potatoes at 5 pounds per bag. Went to the egg farm and they had to lay our eggs. Went to the bread company, they had to bake our bread, special order. Went down to the chicken farm. Yep, Bob, I heard about your program. Yeah, I heard about it. I said, well, look, man, I need 10,000 chickens. They got to be over 3 pounds, up to 3.5 pounds. Well, I can have them grown for you by then. I said, grown? What you mean? Don't you have the chickens here, man? Well, you got 5 weeks. I can have them grown for you. I said, well, show me what you... Man, the man took me back there and showed me this gigantic operation. They turn these lights on, keep these lights on all night and make them chickens eat all night long. The man, after I saw that, I said, I guess I'll have me some 3 to 3.5 pound chickens for sure. Went out to the big co-op warehouse out there, cooperative warehouse out there, big 6 square block warehouse. I said, man, I need some more cubic inches in this bag. What you talking about, Bob? I said, you heard about my program? He says, yeah, what do you want? I said, I found out that puff, we could take up some more cubic inches. See, what I did was, every 16-ounce tin, I wanted to know the general cubic inches it take up. Paying attention to the fine particulars and the details of organizing is very important, all the fine particulars. Don't never assume that everything is going to work out exactly a certain way. You got to sit down and measure shit. If you're going to put 8 16-ounce tins of 2 cans of lima beans, 2 cans of string beans, 2 cans of English peas, you know, and so on. You want to know how many cubic inches they're going to take up if your whole bag is 1,400 cubic inches, right? How many general cubic inches a dozen eggs or 5 pounds of potatoes is going to take up, right? And make sure you constitute and make sure you have a full, because I told them I want the bags full to the brim. Then we'll put the chicken wrapped up in the cellophane bags and everything right on top of that 1,400 cubic inch bag. Talking about he didn't have, man, he says, Bob, I never keep no more than 2,000 bags of this stuff on the floor. I said, well, shit, where you get your puff wheat? He said, from the Quaker Puff Wheat Company, 75 miles from here out in Stockton. We went out there. Had them bag us up 10,000 bags of puff wheat. And with all the other stuff that Synanon has gave us and stuff, and I had them brothers down. I said, I want to know exactly how many cubic inches in every carton or whatever, and every item. Exactly down to it. I had to organize the people. Now, how are we going to organize all these people? I had to have baggers for groceries. I had to have 200 people to register people to vote when it was coming to the auditorium. I had to have another 200 people to give sickle cell anemia tests. At that time, we still had 28 chapters and branches scattered around the country. So in Oakland and San Francisco alone, we only had 250 some odd Black Panther Party members ready and handy. So I went down to the church, got some of them black sisters down there, 40, 50, 60, 70 some out of them, boom, got them to come down. Went out there and got the Zodiacs, got them to unite some other gangs and put themselves together. We gave them a little $2,000 bank account because we getting ready to politicize this gang in the community, told them where they had to be. Still had to have me some more workers. I got a few more brothers and sisters off the community in the streets. Man, them niggas ain't gonna give away no 10,000 bags of groceries, man. Unbelievable black brothers and sisters. Boy, it hurt me. I said, that's all right for y'all. I said, I know how to get these goddamn groceries bagged. Shit. Went up to the University of California, 36,000 community, always having them old left-wing rallies up there. Had one of them rallies, they had about 2,000 people up there for, you know what, I done talked me 500 white radicals to come down to the black community because they're gonna bag these groceries. I got my help. And in 24 hours, we bagged them groceries. I mean, we sit them sisters around the room there in every other chair, told them young brothers from the gang, now you lift these boxes over here because these canned goods have been bought without labels. It was cheaper to buy that. Now you sisters sit down, give them some markers. In every other chair, unload these boxes. In the empty chair, you sisters mark the corn, mark the keys and stuff, load the boxes back up, and you brothers take them back up. And pay attention to your coordinators because they know exactly how many boxes got to go on every 4 abreast row of bags running all the way back across this gigantic room because we bagging these groceries, bagged them groceries in 24 hours, and I cooked for everybody because I'm a cook. On 8-hour shifts. But we couldn't put them chickens in them bags, could we? They would spoil, right? To learn how to pay attention to the fine particulars of good organizing. So what did we do? Loaded them groceries over to Oakland Auditorium. I looked at that big old giant wide stage, almost 100 feet wide, checked out and recognized that behind the second main curtain, you had 34 feet in front. Behind the second main curtain was another 40 feet, but the stage was 100 feet wide. Measure that stage. I say, I want 2 tables, then a foot aisle, 2 tables, a foot aisle, running back, straight back, all the way across that stage. Surface top, surface under the table, leave the aisles clear. Brother, give me that slide rule. How many bags of groceries can I get on that stage on 2 levels like that? Brother Bobby, we can put 6,280 bags of groceries up on that stage behind the second main curtain. So you had to hide them groceries. You don't be calling no 6,000 or 7,000 people around talking about some groceries. They will charge you. They will take them groceries from you. You will have one of those bad situations. So the rest of them groceries outside the main court in this auditorium, I said, I want all them groceries in there, stick them in them rooms on the same 2-level system, bang, 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 and we hid them groceries. Brother be coming in there. I mean, John Lee hooking the Tower Power, everybody was up on the stage, they had entertainment. Brother saw me walking out in the aisles, I always had a bodyguard with me with a walkie-talkie. He said, hey, Brother Bobby, I done registered to vote, baby. Where the groceries, man? I don't see no groceries. Brother wanna know where these groceries is at. Heard about it. Hey, man, I got my sickle cell anemia test too, man. You know, it's cool. I said, brother, don't worry about it. You had the groceries. I couldn't get them chickens in there, right? And when I found we had all the people's gonna come in, there was 8,000 people in that auditorium, jam-packed, standing up and everything else. I got all the people who was doing voter registration, shifting around back. All the people who'd been doing sickle cell anemia, shifted around back. All the other workers and all the other people got around back. John Lee Hooker went on the stage. I don't want you to be no fool. I don't want you to be no slave, baby. I just want to make love to you. And they start taking them chickens out of them freezer trucks that we had at 33 degrees and start putting behind the curtain in them quarter rooms back there a chicken, 3-pound Foster Farm chicken in every bag. Time-wise, they were supposed to complete that inside of an hour. It took them approximately 58 minutes because they radioed me back on walkie-talkie in the dressing room behind the curtain that boom, every chicken is in every bag. John Lee Hooker had blowed for right at an hour. Walked on the stage, because we got to get rid of these chickens. We can't let them chickens spoil, right? Rap to them brothers and sisters and people in the community, let them know that we don't like the power structure, talking about what the hell we can't do. We didn't organize you, you registered to vote, boom, 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 etc. And when we say we're going to give away 10,000 full bags of groceries with a fat 3-pound healthy Foster Farm chicken in every bag, we mean just that. Q word, curtain goes up, room is silent. One black brother gets up out of his chair and he comes out front, he says, oh my God, oh goddamn. I ain't never seen so many groceries all my life. Lord, have mercy. Blew my mind. In 45 minutes, the way we color-coded all the seatings, lettered them up, etc., how people were supposed to file out, in 45 minutes, everybody was gone home with their full bags of groceries. It was the chickens. If the chickens had a spoil, everything we did wouldn't have been shit, right? See, so that's a true story now. I'm not lying to you. We did that 3 times. So that's all we was about. That's what humanity's got to be about. A lot of the things I said are not about earth citizenship and all this stuff. But it really all boils down to what? When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to separate themselves from the political bonds which have connected them with another and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal stations which the laws of nature, nature's God entitled them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind, dictate that they should declare the causes which impel them to that separation. Let's declare the cause that we do not and will not have nuclear holocaust in this world, and understand that we have to expend some of our energy relevant to stopping that. Let's declare the cause that racism and exploitation, let's declare the cause that all this crap that's going on in the world's got to be changed. Let's declare the human cause and value the fact that we are earth citizens and first-class human beings. Let's declare those causes, and we intend to separate ourselves from the exploitation. Let's declare the cause that we're going to evolve a new economic practice in this country. Thank you very much. I'll do some question and answers. I got to catch a train and get out of here and go to Philadelphia, because I'm designing one of these overcoming attitude limitations programs for a union down there, and adapting it at least to their program. I'll take some questions, please, because I can't answer everything in one lecture thing. Has anybody got any questions? Yes.
How are we going to overcome Reagan and the rest of this right-wing repression that's overcome the country now when we try to organize and spread the knowledge of what human dignity should be in the world?
I say what I was saying in the lecture, that see, it's at different stages. Well, all we have to see is the relationship and the connected relationship between every stage. The community organizing. Now, the community organizing, while the black community have numbers of organizations in their communities, especially the grassroots levels, they have to learn how to coalesce. We did not have enough coalition politics in the 1960s. That's one step towards it. You see what I'm getting at? The more and more people unite, and then the black community, the Chicano community, the white community with the progressive organizations that's really relevant on one level or another have got to start dealing with this kind of level. They have to understand what it means to deal with organizing political electoral power, because the people got to see a goal objective when you organize them. See, running out in the street with just a riot is not what's happening. I don't believe in spontaneous riots, you see what I mean? So you're not really overcoming. All you're doing is allowing some pig power structure people to justify a reason to kill the niggas, incarcerate the niggas, and get more police efforts, which in effect strengthens the monopoly capitalists, you see what I mean? So I still say it goes back to, in essence, what I was just talking about. That's the way you begin to go about overcoming it. Yes? What is national security? Hey, real national security, you know, it is not per se military might and military strength, okay? I like to think that if people are going to advocate, lobby, whatever, criticize correctly, that foreign policy must be about cooperation with other countries and peoples of the world, as opposed to the big stick method, or of the notion that I can jump on you with a big stick or atomic bomb. You see what I'm getting at? So how do we organize people to understand and value that? I mean, how do we value full employment in our own country as a form of national security? Hey? How do we value preventative medical health care? How do we value decent health care? And how do we value environmental protection, etc., as forms of national security? You see what I'm getting at? But it goes in conjunction and connection with the rest of the world. You see what I'm getting at? Now, I know I'm talking very general, but this is the way I think I can best answer your question. Yes?
Okay, you're talking about a brotherhood of man, okay? What you have to, in general, what you have to do to get that, obviously, from what you're saying, is to overthrow the self-perpetuation of the elite. Okay, and if they control the rules of the game, how do you get rid of the tremendous amount of false consciousness that exists not only in our society, but throughout the world?
Cult consciousness, such as moral majority cult consciousness?
False consciousness.
Oh, false consciousness. I thought you said cult consciousness. How do you get rid of?
When they control the rules of the game.
I'm not denying that they don't control the rules of the game, but I still say there's a conscious level razor that I like to deal with. Best I can do right now is what I really do, community organizing training. We have one particular exercise. It's not so much a workshop as it's an exercise, where we call it star power, and it teaches people it's a relevant game that teaches people the difference between the powerful and the powerless, to try to get them consciously understanding this. Rules of the game is this, is their rules. They can change them tomorrow. But if we practice a human democratic rule that says we have a right, boom, to control a legislative body, and if they come back at us and start shooting at us, remember I'm a revolutionary in the final analysis, you see what I mean? Then we have every right to defend ourselves, because therefore we must have mastered the rule relevant to being able to control the legislative body that we as the people should have controlled in the first place. Now that sounds very vague, I know, but rules of the game is their rules, but in the context of their rules, one thing for sure, the rich elite do not like for you and us to stop playing the game, that the charades and the snow job they put on us. That's one thing. If you stop playing, if we just stop, all 2.5 billion people beyond that elite stop saying, well, we're not voting anymore whatsoever. We refuse to vote at all. You see what I mean? All we did was leave them with the power. You see what I'm getting at? On the one hand, they don't like that because they want us to be snowed. All I'm trying to say is, when it comes back to us as individuals, people, organizational groups, etc., we have to view controlling and changing the face of whole legislative bodies. That's the hardline game that they play. They play the game of controlling our legislators. We're talking about kicking out the legislators that exist now. I mean, we hear about electing black politicians. Shit. 60-70% of the black politicians in this country ain't worth doodly squat. 95% of the white ones ain't worth crap either. You see what I'm getting at? So I'm saying we're talking about changing the whole face. Now, if we go after that power and that control from the community control power ideological concept level, you dig what I mean? We have injected what the game is really about, but it's about political electoral power with the goal objective of evolving a new economic practice, and that economic practice is in direct opposition to capitalistic exploitation and racism. Then again, see, I'm giving you a soapbox speech. Yes, brother.
What I would like to know is that through your extensive traveling, might you have any knowledge, any information, anything to, I guess I wanted some sort of positive reinforcement about the situation that's going on in Atlanta. You know anything about that?
No, I don't. But let me say this here. People around the country, many of us are speculating, okay? We want to know whether it's the Ku Klux Klan. One time I suspected, because it was right following the Liberty City riots, that maybe this is an effort on the part of covert Army intelligence, CIA, to see whether they can make blacks in this country suddenly rise up in rebellious, spontaneous riots. I thought about that possibility. And as the months pass on and on and on and on, I start looking at it. And remember, I'm only speculating. I'm not trying to say it's a definite truth. I have come to some functional conclusion to believe that we're dealing really with a psychopath for these reasons. You don't go in such a gigantic black community in Atlanta, Georgia, a white man, if he's a racist, you dig what I mean? And the average 10 or 12-year-old kid gonna walk off with a white person, and other white black folks teeming in the community don't see something with reference to 18 to 20 kids. You see what I'm getting at? But a black person could do it very easy if he's a psychopath. You see what I'm getting at? We have to ask those questions. You see what I'm getting at? It's a high possibility. Now, I don't know. Other people may have information on another level, but I worry about us jumping off and saying this. On the other end, those who want to say that this is an act of racism, Candlestein, Ku Klux Klanism, they're killing our young kids. What do we do about it? Should we pick up guns? No, you do not pick up guns, because I'm saying this here. The amount, and anybody is killed is bad, but the amount of black folks that's being killed now by racism in an overt sense don't even begin to add up to the amount of black folks that was being killed and murdered overtly by Ku Klux Klansmen around this country in the 50s and the early 1960s. Your reasons should lead you right back to the fact that we lack community control and community power. On the other end, we criticize the federal government and Ronald Reagan about whether or not they should give more federal support. Personally, to some extent, I think Mayor Maynard Ferguson is doing the best he can. I think he's got a real psychopathic mystery on his hand. That's what I think. Yes.
Mr. Seale, how come that so many people like yourself, Hoffman and yourself and a few others, have become so visible right now? What is it about the time right now that people are becoming so visible with the help of the media?
Well, I think, one, we hit a decade. It's some degree of a trend by a lot of people. What we gonna do in the 80s? See, it's a lot of people old enough to remember the era of the 60s. I think that's part of it, okay? They happened not to kill me, okay? They tried. I mean, I can tell you stories, man, that won't quit. You know, I'm not talking about just being in jail. I'm not talking about the time in the hole. I'm not talking about being beat up in the courtrooms and stuff like this here. I'm talking about wholesale clandestine operations to try to set me up. I just used to have a good security force that my brother, in effect my blood brother, ran, you know, because, I mean, when I used to do speaking engagements, shit, they had a team of people plus 3 or 4 white radicals who was tight partners of ours, special ones, you know, that used to come out and they'd check a place out. You wouldn't even know they was even connected with us. You know what I mean? And they'd find things out, and sometimes they wouldn't even let me come to special engagements because they could just smell a trap. You dig? They tried to kill me, but here I am, okay? I'm still dedicated. I'm still committed. That's what I want to say, committed. And Abby Hoffman came from out from underground and all this kind of stuff. Bobby Seale's around. 10, 11 years ago, we upset the courtrooms, and we were part of the symbolic, presently, we are symbolic of that history. At the same time, I don't think we're getting near as much media exposure that we used to. I really don't. I do a lot of TV shows when I go all across country. All this month, every city I hit, there's a TV show to be done. But still in all, media exposure-wise is like an anecdote. Remember Bobby Seale? This is what he's talking about. Bang, they come in and shoot a little shit. You know, I hope I get 2 or 3 words over about something I remember, and that's the end of it. You see what I'm getting at? So, then I don't know, man. You begging another kind of question, you see? And I can't answer what's going to be going on 4 years from now, you see? Because I'm the type of person, man, I mean, I don't have no guns and I don't deal with guns now, but if I start and people start politically organizing, I say I got a democratic human right to defend myself. You see, now if Ronald Reagan and them start coming shooting at me, you see what I'm getting at? No way, brother. I will pick me a shotgun. I will defend myself, because what I'm doing is only a tool. And I'm not trying to get people to identify with guns. I'm trying to get you to identify with the goal objective of evolving a new economic system. That's the true identity of where we're coming from. You see what I'm getting at? But I have to stand my ground. So I don't know what's going to happen. But I don't care. I did 18 years in this thing. I'm ready to put another 18 years into it, on whatever level I can do it on. Yes, brother. He had his hand up first. You next.
You were talking a lot tonight about making a change you can good comes out of legislative change. And I would like to believe that, except that when looking at history and different societies, I've never seen that type of change take place with economic power that society ever changed hands because of some voting power, precisely because people with money usually put people in office or back them. Now you said, when you were describing, you said that people in government are the ones who have the people with economic power. You said they have them, good on them. Right? To me, it seems like people with the money are the ones who determine who goes into office or not, simply by backing them or not backing them. And that's why I'm having some questions about this transfer of power taking place through the political system that you're talking about.
Well, I just gave you an example. I ran a damn good campaign when I ran for mayor of Oakland. Myself and Elaine Brown was political revolutionaries. We could have came back 2 years later if I had one, okay, and hopefully could have captured the whole framework. Now, outside of that, what happened is they ultimately elected a black mayor in Oakland following that, but by then he was in turn controlled by the political power structure because the party dwindled, okay? What I'm saying is that even us, we had to have money to run a political campaign, to even put our own self in office to make that political institutionalized framework serve the basic desires and needs of the people. Your argument is that since they control and since they got the money, they're always going to control just because they always got the money. I'm saying this here. Go into Baltimore, watch the Welfare Rights Organization of Baltimore who in fact 2 years ago put an initiative on the ballot which happened to be a relevant issue, okay? Rent control. And because 65% of the people in Baltimore, in the city proper, was black, the registered voters was black, you see what I'm getting at? And they had a relevant issue that was tangible to them, they voted in the rent control initiative. What in effect happened, though, is a judge came along and said that your Democratic vote of voting this initiative in is unconstitutional. The problem is that now, since then, I've been training and teaching them what to do, although they're going to fight it to the higher courts. What they're going to do is, hopefully, I'm going to get Richard Pryor in there. He's going to hold a major event with 10,000 black folks, right? And it's going to be centered around the fact that if the judge and others don't rule our initiative, you dig what I mean? That we voted in using our democratic rights, then as of such and such a date, ain't none of us paying no more rent no more. 65% strong of the black community and the other poor white folks who also voted for the initiative, no more until this initiative recognizes our democratic rights, because you can't put the whole goddamn city in jail. And we will all, see, that causes people to get going. That's a momentum. Now, that was using political electoral power just to get that one initiative. Most people don't have any faith in legislative figures, but you have to organize whole coalitions in community. You have to develop political electoral power throughout the community. You have to have a whole new slate of candidates relevant to where the people's going. Now, I'm saying that really, before this initiative, the amount of people that took time to vote, Washington, D.C., for instance, 75% black, 32% of the registered elected votes. What about the other 32% you can match that if you can organize that community? Those factors become involved. Sure, I know the boys got money. You know what I mean? I know they can buy people out. But you have to politically educate, you have to assess what kind of politicians you want, making sure their hearts, minds, and souls in the right place. When they go in there as a caucus to take over so many seats of a city council, they go in there as a block. I'm saying that that legislative body is the most important political institutionalized function above and beyond the fact that we know presently that the money-rich corporate power structure actually controls that framework.
But the problem I have is that I can see that you can make some changes, like positive changes, people like welfare rights or like rent control. Those are good things. But the changes you're talking about, at least I heard you talking about before, you said revolutionary changes, seem much more fundamental than that.
What do you think revolution is then, brother? Is that what you're questioning? Asking a question about?
I'm trying to get from you what you mean by revolution.
Revolution is re-evolving power back into the hands of people. Now, in all the fine particulars that involves, try to imagine and envision that. The goal objective is not a confrontation battle. You subject to have them. The goal objective, right, is to evolve a new economic practice via the process of evolving and via the process of political electoral community power to control the very important legislative framework that will help you evolve this new economic practice for the sake of the people. That's the goal objective. You see what I mean? Now that's how I think of revolution. See, a lot of people think revolution is some battle that Castro and them had, boom, and some battle. Revolution is beyond that. After the Chinese had their revolution in 1949, the real revolution had nothing really to do with battles and guns. It had to do with educating people. It had to do with re-evolving economic processes, etc., to develop the country, etc. You see what I'm getting at? That's what revolution is. I am saying, in effect, since we are already overdeveloped in America, largely, in essence, it's going to be about re-evolving power back into the hands of the real people, Okay? And that's broad. We could write a whole book on that, 2, 3 books. Yes?
Yeah, if I could just keep going what he's saying. What you get out of a revolution, the guarantees of a revolution that go back to the 60s. If you're not committed to getting your ass kicked all over the place, it's kind of hard to commit yourself. If you commit yourself, and you're committed to getting your ass kicked to win, and you turn around and you're the only one getting your ass kicked. The only place you win is in your own soul. I don't see that commitment, and I don't feel like I'm being pessimistic. I don't see that commitment on this campus.
Probably won't for a long time.
In the classroom,
Probably won't for a long time.
The point is, if I say, you're teaching me shit, I'm the weird one. And these people who are committed to a better education sit there and say, in the rack, outside in the corridor, gee, you're right. If nobody's going to be around, fuck 'em. I'm still going to take care of me. You sit beside me. You walk beside me. I'll try to take care of you, but you got to do the same to me. Why is it going down? Why don't people believe that as a fundamental First Amendment of life? What are they all fucking waiting for?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You expressed here so far to me a proper degree of frustration. Wait a minute. No, wait a minute, man. Let me finish. I'm not denying. I'm not living in the 1960s, brother. I do not live there. I live here and now. I am not talking. I just give you some history of the 1960s so some people understand what was going on in the 1960s. I do not live there. I remember the times when I was so goddamn frustrated at Merritt College with a bunch of black people playing a bunch of whist. I'd been there 2 years, 3 years in the cafeteria. And through the process of learning, developing my worldview, beginning to do this, do that, I realized one day, you know, I knew how to play whist too. I played damn good whist. Was an expert at it. But I was always outside criticizing the dudes sitting on their butt, not giving a damn about nothing, playing whist. And the issue came up about black men being drafted into the Vietnam War. The Vietnamese had never called us nigger, and why should we go over there? And the conscience began to roll around, and I was trying to talk to these dudes, you niggas sitting up here playing that whist, y'all ain't this and y'all ain't that. And one day I cut it loose, and you know what I did? I went down there and sit at the table and started playing whist with them. And in the process of playing whist, we fooled around and came up with an organizational group called Soul Students Advisory Council with a few of those whist players. And in the process of that, the next thing we know, we got 1,300 black folks and other white folks, etc., who was relating to the issue of the fact that they was getting ready to be drafted into the war in Vietnam. So I began to learn how to use whist as a stepping stone. Same thing I did in jail when I organized a survival program, caused the whole jail to strike, because they played poker. I play a damn good hand of poker. I took over the house, the poker. I opened up a commissary program with everything. So you express a proper degree of frustration. I have to identify where you're coming from. I just have a hell of a lot more patience, I think. And I will do that. I get involved with people on the level where they are and try to hip them to where we go next, whether they playing whist, whether they sitting on their rumps, or whether some of these kids running around here talking about, I'm going to get my little education, go get my little $35,000 a year job later. They have to understand that they got to put 5 and 10% of their energy to even protect the ability of a $35,000 a year job in the future. You see what I'm getting at? That's all I'm trying to tell. So I understand where you're coming from, but I don't know. Who, me? I don't burn too much energy up on being angry. I burn a hell of a lot of energy up on trying to investigate the reality of the situation, trying to make sure my ideas correspond correctly to reality. I burn a hell of a lot of energy up running around to a lot of cities and working with a lot of different kind of community organization groups in their own little indigenous communities, because I don't relate to all that Messiah black leadership that Jesse relates to and all them other guys. You know, they the big leaders. Oh, I'm the black leader. Later for that. That ain't what's happening. Angry. What is anger? You know, I can be angry tomorrow. You know, I walked down the street in my own black community back here 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. Philadelphia, I was living there for a while. Walked down the streets, dudes didn't know who I was, these young dudes, you know what I mean? Hey man, you walking on this street here, let me want to let you know something, that when you walk on this street, I says, wait a minute, I'll be right back. Ran around the corner, got my .357 Magnum, these are my black brothers. Come back up the corner, I said, now what was you saying? You was saying something about walking up and down this goddamn street, nigga. I mean, even my black brother, I gotta let him know that I have a democratic right to walk on the street, and I will pop him, even though I don't want to have to kill nobody, because every time you do kill somebody, it diminishes a part of self. But I have a democratic right to do that because I got a goal objective beyond some cheap argument with him. You see what I'm getting at? I would have popped him. But I told him, I said, you getting a chance. I said, now you think there's bad niggas in the world, nigga. I said, you go in the goddamn library and you look up the goddamn name Bobby Seale, Huey P. Newton, and Eldridge Cleaver. And we were some badass niggas, and I'll pop your goddamn ass off this street if I ever catch you running out there talking about I can't walk on this street. Now, see, I got angry. You see, you asked me the question, did I get? Yes, at that moment. But I had to defend something, you see what I mean? Otherwise, I don't burn up a whole lot of energy every moment. Sometimes I read something, it really makes me angry, but I soothe out and say, wait a minute, I got a lot of work to do. Okay, what time is it, man? I gotta catch the train. Huh? One question. Yes.
Bobby, I'd just like to know, what do you read into the summer's problems in Miami? Do you see
Last summer's problems in Miami?
you foresee a decade of civil violence coming towards us? Or
No. Half those kids down there, although they did well reacting in context to a black dude that got killed by some police who got let go, okay? But I do not see it, really, I don't. You know why? Most of them kids, like I say, is if you put a picture up of Malcolm X, they're gonna ask who's Malcolm 10. They don't connect it with the history of the 60s, one. Two, the only real dudes that really did something down there were some Vietnam veterans, some black Vietnam veterans. Now, this is a story they did not publicize. The two long block area where they knew the police gonna be coming down here. These black brothers got these oil drums and poured oil all over the streets, and got gasoline where they plugged up the drain pipes and stuff and put rags and stuff in there and poured gasoline all in there, had other Molotov cocktails and stuff. And when the police and the fire trucks came down there and they hit that oil for that 2 square block, they got the sliding everywhere, etc. These brothers was lined up, one on this side of the street and one on that side of the street, started firing on the police, throwing Molotov cocktails, poison. When you heard about so many cops suddenly getting shot in one scene down there, that's what happened, but they didn't publicize that happened. And these are black Vietnam veterans, unemployed, tired and sick and tired of being sick and tired, lost in the wilderness of white-ass America. Asses, the masses' asses, cool, said the master to the slave. I'll be your driving wheel, cool, and he wheeled us into 350 years of black-ass madness. That's the way them black Vietnam veterans feel. They did that. But I'm just saying, I really don't think that's going to proliferate that high. I just don't think that the 1980s per se is going to be like that. It would take a lot of overt physical racist attacks upon people to start causing a lot of riotous rebellions in this country. So that's the way I feel about it. I want to say this here. I have to get up here. I'm designing one of these overcoming attitude limitations programs for the union. It's been enjoyable being here. You can't cover everything in a lecture like this for 2 hours on the stage. I wish I could stay longer. I had a good time here. The brothers of Harambe and others had me here ever since last night. And I want to thank you very, very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, well, hold on for a minute, please. I would like to thank you all, as well as Mr. Seale.